Hello, my name is Nairi, this is Fly Little Birds, and this channel is suitable for foster carers and adopters. And if you've not found me before, please subscribe and please hit that notification bell. So first of all, let's look at partnerships, relationships, marriages. And some adopters and foster carers are a little bit worried about what they may be asked in those assessment processes, which are quite similar. The way that you're assessed is quite similar, the areas covered are similar. So the first thing to say is they're going to ask you how you work out your arguments together, how you resolve conflicts, what happens when you have a major row, and how do you resolve that, how do you get past that. So what they're looking for is your resilience as a couple to move forward, and they want you perhaps to describe a time when that's happened and what you did about it, what you did to resolve it. So that's the first thing they may ask. Another thing they may ask, which everybody worries about, is what your sex life is like. Now, they don't want to know the intimate details of what happens in the bedroom. They're not interested in that. You'll be glad to know. But what they are interested in is that you're satisfied with your physical relationship with your partner, and that you're satisfied with how often intimacy happens, and that you don't feel that you have any sexual issues or hang-ups together. Again, that's part of your resilience, because if you're close as a couple and you're satisfied in that way, then there's going to be potentially less problems in the relationship. Another thing that they may ask you is what causes arguments between you. So what is it that might actually spark difficulties in your relationship? Would it be finances? Would it be sexual things? Would it be family? What would cause issues? And again, are there ways of resolving those issues? What do you do about it? How do you come together and talk about those things? Sometimes they'll have you together in a room to talk about those things. Sometimes you will be separate, you will be apart. And when you're separate and apart, they may ask you how you feel about your partner, what your emotional connection is with them and your response to them. They want to know. You would be sad if something happened to them. They want to know that there is a real emotional connection there, and it's not just a partnership of convenience, and that actually in your head you get on well together. In your head you may love each other, but actually you want to know that you feel that. And again, that's really serving toward resilience for the relationship long term. When you look at the fostering assessment and the adoption assessment, there are some differences, and the differences to that is the level of intensity around permanence for the child. Another question people want to know is what you need to provide for the child, and I'm going to cover the material things here rather than the emotional responses. Most of you will probably realise you have to actually provide a separate room, and that's non-negotiable, unless of course you've got siblings, and then it may be, depending on the age, depending on their background, that you can actually have them in a room together. So the room doesn't have to be very big at all. It can be a box room, a very small bedroom, but it needs adequate ventilation and it needs adequate storage for the child's things, so that they're not feeling so cramped that they can actually move inside that room. But beyond that, that's fine. And how you decorate it, to be honest, is fine. Most of the advice to foster carers is don't decorate it too much according to the sex of the child, because actually you will have different placements coming and going, and it's possibly not worth going down that route. But as an adopter, you can decorate it as you like. Bear in mind what the interests of the child already are. Bear in mind what they may come with. If they're going to come with lots of Paw Patrol stuff, or they're going to come with lots of Cinderella, then kind of go with that rather than necessarily what you might want to go with. So beyond that, you're looking at providing enough to stimulate the child. So a range of resources is really, really helpful. I will link a video at the end of this video so that you can see a video that goes through types of play materials and resources that you can get in. Now, it's addressed to adopters, but of course that's still very, very useful for foster carers as well. Again, for fostering you may go slightly less because you're not looking at the permanent situation. However, as a foster carer, you might actually find that if the child comes with nothing, then you have to go out and get a wide range of resources. In my experience, foster carers share that out between them sometimes. So if you're new to fostering, get to know foster carers and they may well share out those things with you, and you can swap around according to the age of child. But you will get an allowance and you will be expected to provide enough to help the child's development for them to move forward. Let me give you an example. If you have a 2-year-old, if you're adopting or fostering, you would be expected to buy reading books for them, picture books, because they're getting to the stage where they're developing their language. You would be expected to have some physical items for them so that they can, you know, explore their climbing, etc. And you will also be expected to provide a good range of clothes, because toddlers are very, very messy, and so just providing the bare minimum, whether you're fostering or adopting, is not going to work. But adopters, do remember that children will come in with lots of things from the foster carer, so it's really, really important that you check with foster carers what they're going to come with, and that you just don't go crazy and fill, what if it's a small room, fill it with things which you don't actually need, even though you want to do it. Try to control yourselves. I know it's hard. And of course, they'll be looking at your long-term financial stability. What is your spending power actually? You know, how much money will you have when you have to take time off work if you're adopting? When it's a foster carer's allowance, they'll still want to know that actually the foster carer allowance is not propping up the whole of your family. So they want to know when it comes to material things that you're financially solvent and that you're not going to really struggle to provide for the child over time. Question number 3 is about health in general. So I've covered mental health on another video. That will be the other video that I link for you at the end, so you can see the 2 videos. If you like this, by the way, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Okay, so number 3 is health in general. So what I'm talking about here is alcohol consumption, something that we rarely talk about as a problem, smoking, and also weight. So let's start with alcohol consumption, shall we? I don't know what it's like in your country, but in the UK it's almost fun to talk about, you know, overly consuming wine in the evenings. Now, I come from a difficult childhood where I had an alcoholic father, so actually alcohol is not a problem for me. I have it occasionally, but I don't have it very often because of that. But for some people it does become a real prop, and it's very, very easy to fall into the trap of exceeding the recommended alcohol. Now, you will be asked about alcohol consumption and you will need to be honest about it. At the end of the day, if you feel that your alcohol consumption is becoming overbearing and you are relying on it, well, why not take this as an opportunity of reducing that amount? Now, again, I think the questions will be more dynamic for the adoption process. You may be asked for fostering about this, but it's probably not going to be as intense. So think about, how much do you drink now? How much do you sort of down of an evening? And look about ways of cutting it down. As far as smoking concerns, I think this does differ quite differently from fostering and adoption agencies or councils. Now, this still may be different in the UK across the country, and it may be different from whatever part of the world that you are from. My understanding at the moment is that some fostering agencies will allow smoking, but you have to be outside of the house, and some won't. My understanding for adoption is that smoking is not allowed at all. So if you are a smoker, you will need to plan to give up smoking, and you will need to be making that plan already before the adoption process starts, or right at the beginning. You will need to be prepared to say to a social worker, I will give up smoking, I'm going to start doing that now. They may hold you back a little bit on the adoption process if you've not actually signed yourself up for cessation of smoking. They want to see that you're making progress, because by the time you adopt, they don't want you to be a smoker. Now let's get on to the weight, the one that's most difficult for me. I have a very difficult relationship with food, and I've struggled with my weight since I had my 5th birth child, because we have birth children as well. So when I went for the fostering assessment, I don't think it was made so overt about losing weight, but when I went on the adoption assessment, yes it was, and there was a certain amount of a BMI that I had needed to reach, and I believe that was around about 30. Now, I know this differs massively across agencies and councils, and it may do across the world wherever you are, but there wasn't a need for me to look at the permanence of the child and my health in general and to get that weight down. And I do know of other couples that have been asked to do that, even on the fostering pathway. So if you are into the obese or morbidly obese section of BMI, look to try and make reduction, look to try and make changes, because I'm sure the social worker will be touching on that in the assessment process. Think anything that causes a potential health risk to you, especially if you do have health risks that could be associated with weight, then you're going to need to demonstrate that you're happy to try and lose weight. However, don't let that put you off going on to the process. I don't think it's a big one to stop you, because I think as long as you show willing and you start getting on to a slimming class, or you start making changes to your lifestyle, then they will be happy to start taking you on the process on the basis that you're willing to make changes. And the last one, which may only be relevant to some of you, is can you actually foster or adopt if you already have children, or indeed if you've already fostered or adopted children. Basically, if you have other children in the mix, whoever they are, can you foster or adopt? And of course the simple answer to that is yes, of course you can. However, when we had our 5 children quite young and we approached a fostering agency, they said no. They asked us to wait until our children were older. If you have children at home that have additional needs, it depends what those needs are. So if you find that you are taking up with a lot of time with the children in your home because of their age or because of additional needs and things that they need you to do, then there may be some question marks over whether you're going to have enough time for a fostered or adopted child. Now, many families manage this. You know, we've managed it before with 5 children. I think we had 4 at home when we fostered, and the children that we had in and we fostered had lots of complex needs, and some families are very busy and they manage that very well. But the questions will be asked: how will you manage your time with your biological children or birth children, or your now adopted child and a newly fostered child? Whatever mix of family you think you want to go for, it's possible, but you do have to demonstrate that you have enough time for that. And you also have to think about the children that you already have in the home. Are they going to get enough time from you? Can you actually maintain a good relationship with the children you already have? Now, when we were fostering alongside our birth children, it was difficult to give our birth children enough time, and I do have some regrets over that still now. I do. I realised that some of my children did miss out on quite a bit from me, but you know, that's in hindsight. I'm just giving you this advice to think it through really carefully. But now that we have adopted sons, we could have gone forward to foster. We were offered, in a way, to carry on and foster. We were offered that we could have babies or younger children, and we gave this some really deep thought, because I love fostering, and I would have loved to have had babies in the house, even if it was a fast turnaround of them going off for adoption. However, we decided we could not give the new foster child enough time, and we couldn't concentrate on our adopted sons enough if we did that, because of their complex needs. So it's all about balance, and the social worker is not daft. They will see what pressures you already have, and they will press quite hard with you as to whether you actually are doing things for the right motivation, and if it's going to be okay for your existing children. Is it going to be okay for the new children that you're bringing in? So the answer is yes, but lots of examination into motivation and whether you're going to be able to cope. So that's 4 areas for you that commonly get asked. As I say, I will link now the other common questions asked at the end, which is another video, and I will also link for you the resources and equipment needed when you bring a child under 5 into your home, and you can see that one as well. So I hope you've enjoyed Fly Little Birds. Please subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you on my next video. Thank you.